Facebook thing. I have all these thousands of Facebook friends, you know, and you're like, if I passed them on the street, I wouldn't know them, you know, but they're supposedly my friends. It seems so silly to me, and yet that's what I had to do, because it finally occurred to me, what good is it to have a book that has a wonderful message, and it's sitting there and nobody's reading it? If that was the case, I may as well go back to ghostwriting for people who are well-known and will at least get their books out there and be read. Because if it is a team effort, we want to get the message out, don't we? We're producing all this wonderful product, and it's sitting there in a pile and going nowhere. So that's what I jumped into. I said, okay, here's the alternative. I've either got to become somebody who is known for not only writing but selling, or I'm going to have to just self-publish. And everybody would say to me, yeah, but that's the advantage of traditional publishing. They market it for you. That's why I don't want to self-publish, because I don't have to market. Really? You have to do it no matter what. I don't care if you self-publish or if you traditionally publish with the biggest publisher in the world, unless your name is Oprah Winfrey or some other name that everybody recognizes, you have to market. Now, no doubt she does not have to go and do those things, because people know who she is and they buy 1 million copies before it rolls off the presses. The rest of us have to do our homework. We have to do it. It's just that simple. So, all of a sudden, the self-publishing and traditional publishing field is starting to get leveled, isn't it? There used to be a time, Vanity Press, like I told you, the books were hideous. Now they've started getting a little better. They're providing some editing services. They're even providing marketing and publicists and doing all this. Yes, you have to pay extra for it, but guess what? You pay for a lot of that yourself in traditional publishing. When I get my advances, and I was telling the people this at my table at lunchtime, I get 6-figure advances. You know why? Because I count the numbers after the decimal. So I get somewhere in the vicinity of 5, 6, maybe 8,000, a really good one, on a book. I turn right around and invest every penny of that into marketing and publicity. I do not pay bills with it. I don't go to Hawaii on it. Rats. I would love to. But I put it right back into marketing and publicity. And in fact, I include that in my book proposal, that I will invest my entire advance into marketing. That helps me get the contract. And that tells them I am as interested in making a success of this book as they are. We all want to make money out of it, so we all have to get it out there and get it sold. So if I'm investing in this, they're going to come along and they're going to match that. Now there is an advantage. This is something in traditional publishing. If they're giving me money, and I can choose to just blow it and not, I can just go spend it anyway, blow it on bills, pay the electricity bill or something, or I can put it back into marketing. Well, I've chosen to put it into marketing so that now the publisher says, wow, this is one of our top marketing authors. So they start throwing their dollars into marketing. See how that adds up? And then in addition, I hire a publicist. Okay, so he gets me on the radio 3, 4, 5 times a week. Very annoying sometimes. I hate that. Remember, I don't like public speaking. I don't know how I'm standing up here. It's just God. And I have to plan my schedule around, okay, tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning, I've got to make sure I'm home, because that's when KBRT is going to call me and say, yeah, we're going to do a radio show. Okay, here we go. So we'll do that. So it really, it just interrupts your whole life, but it's part of what you do. And it isn't all fun and games, but it's what you do to do your marketing, yes.
Where do I find the publishers?
There's some great ones and there's some lousy ones. So you don't want to just thumb through the yellow pages or Google the word publicist. I can give you some good ones. There are a lot of good ones. I don't think you all want to hear them right now, but if you come to me afterward or whatever, or email me would be better, because my brain's fried right now. But if you will pick up one of my cards.
What's your email?
And, well, if you pick up my cards and you'll see KathiMacias.com, Kathy with an I, KathiMacias.com. That's my website. You go there, it says contact, hit contact, email me and say, I was in your class and I don't want to know about some publicists, okay? Agents too, anything like that. I can't guarantee I'll pick you up, but I can certainly tell you how to get in touch with them. So all of those are things that I do. Whether you have a self-published book or a traditionally published book, plan to do those things. So the advantage, of course, with traditional publishing is that they're providing the money for you to do that. However, all along they've always said, here's why self-publishing stinks. It's lousy work, it's not true anymore necessarily, not if you're willing to do it right and go to a reputable one. I've seen self-published books that look every bit as good as some of the traditionally published books. I actually chose, and this one's been through the ringer, I've used it so much, but I chose to self-publish my writer's workbook simply because I sell it most of the time at conferences like this. I'm sold out right now. But most of the time they don't sell in stores. They sell a few online, but mostly I sell them here.
Can you hold
so
it?
For that reason I wanted to self-publish it, yes.
Can you hold that up and I'll get the cover on
Thank you.
well, maybe
Train of Thought Writing Method
right,
Book, practical user-friendly help for beginning writers.
Practical, and they can get that.
They can get it at Amazon or just about wherever.
And the name again is?
Train of Thought Writing Method.
Train of Thought Writing Method.
Or KathyMacias.com, that's your best bet. Go there. I have a video that goes with every book. That's another thing we do. We have videos made. Okay? We do blog tours online. This is true, traditional or self-publishing. All of that stuff that if you can't find it online or whatever, you can email me and ask me for contacts or things like that. This is where all the marketing dollars go. We don't go around, unless you are Oprah or somebody, we don't go around and do all the book signing tours because nobody comes and it's really
That's so embarrassing.
Oh, it's
so embarrassing.
I pay my kids to come to those things. You know, please just stand around so I can just sit there like, you know, a fool by myself. I will do author events if there's half a dozen of us. You know, Mary and I, Mary DeMuth and I have done some, simply because we have company, somebody to talk to while we're sitting there like a meeting at the bookstore. You know, oh, it's horrible. So those are not the way to go, but you do blog tours online and your name for a whole month, your name is getting up there with reviews of your book on big blogs every day for a month. Well, that's much more effective. And we offer a prize. People sign up, you get a prize. You know, so it's a wonderful way to go. You get a free book or whatever it may be. These are some of the things that you need to know whichever way you go at publishing. If you do ebooks, and that is a great outlet, I mean, I am all for ebooks. A lot of people think, oh no, I don't need someone like us. Yeah, we can't do a book signing with them, but we hate book signing, and we've agreed to that, right? We don't like book signings. So what's the difference? Okay, an ebook is cheaper. My Train of Thought Writing Method book, now I sell it at conferences for 10. Online, you'll pay anywhere from 13 to 15, and shipping if you don't have free shipping. So I put it online as an ebook. You can get it for $4.99.
Yeah.
So hey, you know, people will buy those all day long. I have one book on Kindle for $2.99, and it just sells and sells and sells. And so what if you only make 17 cents a book? If you sell 1,000 of them instead of another book where you only make $1, where you actually make $1 off each book, but you only sell 10 copies. So one of the big problems with self-publishing is people tend to get a little greedy. Let's be honest, it really is. For instance, the company that published this, they came to me and said, now you set the price on this, what it's going to be sell for online at Amazon or on our website or whatever. You tell us what you want to charge, because if you want us to sell it for $15, you'll make $3 every time one sells. But we could sell it for $18 and you'll get 6. Probably not, you know, because most people don't want to spend $18 on a thin workbook. I wouldn't.
No.
So those are the kind of things you want to think about. You want to keep the price. Now, how many times have you been to one of these things where everybody has their books out and the traditionally published authors are selling their books for $10 or whatever, $12 maybe. And then you got some self-published author with a lovely book of poetry or whatever, but they're selling it for $20 and wondering why nobody buys it. You know, if I come to a conference, I've already put out some big bucks to come here. Maybe I'm staying in a motel or I drove down or something. I'm eating out and spending all this money, and I've got, okay, $50 allotted left to buy books with. Am I going to spend 20 of it on one book when I could get 2 over here? So those are all things to think about. You really want to hold the price down as much as possible, and an ebook will do that for you every time. So ebook is a real viable way to go, and I really encourage you to do that if you're breaking into the business. I would, myself, if I were just trying to come in, I would do ebooks almost exclusively on my website. Simply to get my platform built and to get people moving and buying my books and get my name out there and establish my credibility and get a readership following. And then maybe I'd start pushing to maybe go to some of the traditional publishers. Or maybe even some of the self-publishers, because there are some really good ones, and I do honestly believe Westbo is one of the better ones. Westbo has offered something that I am just thrilled with, to finally see it happen. And there are others following suit. B&H is doing the same, and a couple others. They're kind of the hybrid of the two between self-publishers and traditional publishers. Because what they're doing and what they realized, they were very smart in figuring this out. Thomas Nelson looked at the pile, the huge pile of submissions that were coming across the transom every month, hundreds and hundreds. And some of them were junk, yeah, some of them weren't publishable. But there were a lot of good manuscripts in those piles. And yet they'd look at them and they'd say, we have to reject them because they have no marketing platform, they have no plan for marketing, nobody knows who they are. We're going to be taking an awfully big chance publishing and putting money into this thing and maybe losing our shirts. I mean, they got to keep the lights on too. So rather than just reject them and say that's it, we're done with them, they can now suggest that they approach Westbow, because Westbow is Thomas Nelson's self-published imprint. And if that author is willing to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to make my own investment in this, I'm going to put my time and money into self-publishing this book as a Westbow imprint, then Thomas Nelson is going to watch that real closely. And if they see that you're out there marketing and pushing and building a platform and the sales are growing in the book, or on that book, it doesn't have to be, I'm not talking millions, I'm talking, just a respectable climb in sales, then they're going to come back and go, we really liked that book, but we rejected it because the person was an unknown. Now they're starting to establish themselves. And every couple of weeks I'll hear about another Westbow book being bought up by Thomas Nelson and brought into their traditional line. So here's an opportunity for a first-time author who has no track record to come in and actually end up as a Thomas Nelson author. And they're one of the top 5 Christian authors or publishers around. And to get your foot in the door that way is a great opportunity. So that's one of the reasons I am really excited about Westbow. Yeah.
So what would be the advantage for Thomas Nelson publishing a book after you've self-published?
Well, if you self-publish somewhere else, probably none. It's almost impossible. But if you self-publish under their umbrella with Westbow, they simply move you from the self-published imprint into the regular Thomas Nelson stable of writers.
But now they're taking royalties.
Yeah.
Whereas before you didn't have royalties. You just.
Well, actually, when you're self-published, you do get royalties.
Oh.
Yeah, you do. And it's set up that way. I get a royalty check on this little thing. It isn't much, but I do get one every quarter. And it could, for instance, the same publisher that did this, Author House, they published an unknown author who couldn't get anybody to publish her novel. That novel was called Legally Blonde. Heard that one? Have you heard it? It became a movie. Yeah, she gets some killer royalties off of it. She actually makes more royalties than she would through a traditional publisher because she gets $2 a book instead of the usual $1 a book that most of us get. Now that's an exception, just like the story about the shack is an exception. All those are exceptions, but they happen. And so we don't ever want to dismiss that and think it can't happen because it can. So what I am trying to say is that the things that were once verboten in the publishing world, like vanity publishing, is now a respectable option. This fall, I will be on faculty teaching in Indianapolis at this major writers' conference that's strictly about self-publishing. And Michael Hyatt, who's the head of Thomas Nelson, will be our keynote speaker. He is one of the most respected men in the business. You would not believe how much he commands as a keynote speaker, and he's going to an indie publishers conference. What does that tell you? The publishing world is changing. Don't let yourself miss that point, because it is getting more and more difficult to break in. The traditional publishing niches are shrinking, and the number of authors coming in are growing exponentially. Something has to give. And people want good material. So it's going to happen. I really think, right now we're down to the point where, okay, self-publishing books are, for the most part, not always, are now quality books. They look every bit as good as a traditional book. We're now on the same playing field with